welcome back. Let's continue with this introduction to the Ashtavakra Gita that we began in the last class. In the title of a text, like Ashtavakra Gita, the word Gita, or song, is usually used to indicate that the text is a small section or part that's been extracted from a larger scripture. For example, the Bhagavad Gita is a 700-verse section taken from the huge Mahabharata. And the Uddhava Gita is a section found in the Bhagavata Purana. The Ashtavakra Gita, on the other hand, has not been extracted from any other scripture. In fact, we really know very little about its origin. The text itself has about 300 verses, organized into 20 chapters. Since we're not sure about its origin, we can't determine an accurate date for the text. But based on its language and style, we can say that the Ashtavakra Gita was probably written sometime after the life of Adi Shankara. It's attributed to Rishi Ashtavakra, but there's no way to verify or confirm this. It could have been written by someone else and then attributed to Ashtavakra. But it really doesn't make any difference because the importance and value of this text is based on its content, not on its authorship. At first glance, this text might seem to be a straightforward exposition on Advaita Vedanta. But as we'll see in a moment, first glances can be deceiving. Ashtavakra expresses the highest teachings of Vedanta using remarkably simple language. He avoids complicated logic, and he virtually ignores spiritual practices like karma yoga, meditation, and bhakti. On closer inspection, you'll find that there's no connection between chapters. And within each chapter, there's no systematic progression from one idea to another. All this would be a terrible problem if the Ashtavakra Gita were an introductory Vedanta text, a text like Shankara's Atma Bodha or Viveka Chudamani. But you probably know that different Vedanta texts are written for different purposes. For example, advanced texts like Advaita Siddhi are meant for manana, which is an analytical practice that's used to address and remove doubts. Yet, the Ashtavakra Gita is not an analytical text like Advaita Siddhi, nor is it an introductory text like Atma Bodha. This text is specifically intended for the practice of nididhyasana, Vedantic Contemplation. Nididhyasana is the last of the three main practices used in Advaita Vedanta. It's intended to follow your practice of Shravana and Manana. Shravana is using the teachings of Vedanta to realize or discover your true nature. And Manana, as we just saw, is used to remove doubts. The practice of nididhyasana, on the other hand, is used to assimilate the spiritual truths of Vedanta, truths that you have already realized through your practice of Shravana, and truths that you have already made doubt-free through your practice of Manana. So, even though Ashtavakra's text might look straightforward, it's actually meant to support an advanced practice, the practice of nididhyasana. In a more technical sense, nididhyasana is used to overcome habitual identification with your body and mind. This habitual identification is called deha vasana. It's a kind of mental conditioning that usually remains even after your practice of Shravana and Manana is complete. Your mind has been molded by decades of wrong thinking. As a result, false identification with your body and mind has come to deeply permeate all your thinking. That mental conditioning then is gradually removed by using nididhyasana to instill or integrate the teachings of Vedanta into every aspect of your experience. If you're not familiar with this practice, it might be helpful to watch some of my classes on this topic. You'll find several links below. To put it more simply, nididhyasana is a process of gradually absorbing or assimilating the teachings of Vedanta. It's sometimes compared to making a favorite Indian sweet called rasagulla. To make rasagulla, you first make little balls from milk solids, and then you soak them overnight in a special syrup made of sugar and water. Gradually, the little balls absorb the syrup and become completely infused with sweetness. But it takes time. And the same is true for the teachings of Advaita Vedanta. It takes time for your mind to absorb these teachings and become completely infused with their sweetness, so to speak. In other words, to completely assimilate these teachings, you have to remain immersed in them for a sufficient length of time. The Ashtavakra Gita is meant to support you in that process of assimilation. In the coming classes, we'll discuss only 1 or 2 verses at a time, because this text is meant for contemplation, not for study or logical analysis, like in the practice of Shravana and Manana. In each class, we'll first gain a deep understanding of the particular Vedantic principle that's being expressed by Ashtavakra or by King Janaka. And then, after discussing that principle, we'll conclude each class with a brief guided contemplation. I'll show you how to contemplate on what we just discussed, how to use the teachings in each verse to practice nididhyasana. In this way, as we go through the entire text, you'll remain immersed in these teachings, and you'll gradually assimilate them more and more deeply.